Hey everyone, this is Paul from bringweb.com and I'm back with another Elementor and Dynamic Fields tutorial. This time we're going to take a look at Pods, which is a great plugin for creating custom post types and custom fields. During this tutorial we're going to use Pods to extend the default WordPress post with some new fields, and then we will use Elementor Theme Builder to display them into a single page template. Let me show you what we're going to create during this tutorial. This is a healthcare website that displays a list of doctors on the homepage. By clicking on one of the doctors, we will be taken to the doctor's single page where we have a lot of information about the specific doctor. At the top of the page, we have this card where we show the doctor's image, name and title. We also have two buttons, one for the phone number and one for emailing this doctor. On the right side of this card, we have the specialty and education of this doctor as well as a Facebook page button. Further down the page, we have a 3-column layout displaying more information about this doctor. On the left column, we have a card with some more contact information, and under that a list of related doctors. This center column shows a card with some about information on this doctor and the presentation video. On the right column, we have two more cards, the first one being a sign up call to action, while the second one is a list of share buttons. Everything you see on this page that is related to the doctor is coming dynamically from our custom fields that we've created using Pods. That being said, let's jump into the WordPress dashboard and start building this. Okay, so here we are inside of the WordPress dashboard. I will navigate over to Posts, All Posts, and here you can see that we already have a list of some doctors. I will click on Edit from the first one, and you can see that right now we only have two fields, the title, which is the doctor's name, and the post content, which is the short description for our doctor. And we also have here a featured image for this doctor. So what we want to do now is go over to Pods and extend this post type with some more fields that we will then display in our template. So I will hover here over Pods admin and click add new. And on the screen you can see we have two options. We have the option to create a new post type or taxonomy or custom settings page, or we have the option to extend an existing one. Because we just want to add some fields to the pre-made WordPress posts, we will click on extend existing. And then on this page you can see we want content type for post types, and for the post type we want posts. Then I will click on next step, and we are now on the add new fields screen. So I'll click here on add field, and we can go ahead and create our first field. So the first field that we want to create is the doctor's name. So here for the label I will type doctor's name. Then I will press tab to go to the next input, which is name, and this is the internal name that WordPress uses for our custom field. You can see that once I pressed tab, this was automatically filled in by Pods, so we don't need to worry about that. That's perfect how it is right now. And also for the field type we can leave it to plain text. So I'll click here on save field, and then I can go ahead and click on add field to add our second one. This one is going to be doctor's job, so I'll write here doctor's job. And once again, I'll press tab to fill in the name, leave it on plain text and click on save field. The third field that we're gonna create is going to be the doctor's phone number, so I'll click here on add field. And for the label, I'll write doctor's phone number. Fill in the name automatically, and here for the field type, I will change from plain text to phone, like this, and then click on save field. If you look on the screen right now, you will be able to see how these fields will look like on the front end. Now I want to add a few more fields, but just to speed things up, I will add them on fast forward and then I'll explain what I did. So now all of our fields are created. You can see we have a few more field types here. We have email that we use for the doctor's email. We have website that we use anywhere that we need a link for, which is Facebook, doctor's video URL, and the doctor's website. And we also have this file image video field type, which we use for video overlay. This one will let us upload a picture for this custom field. So now that all of our fields are created, I can come here and click on save pod. And our pod was successfully saved. So I will navigate again to posts, all posts. And I will click edit on the first one. And now you can see if we scroll down the page, we have this more fields section where we have all of our fields that we just created. So now we can start filling those in. I'll start with the doctor's name. I'll just copy it from here, from the top, and paste it here. Then the doctor's job, which is a chief medical officer. And I'll quickly do the others so we don't waste any time filling in information. Okay, so we've filled in all the fields, and now I'll click here on add file to choose the video overlay. We already have some uploaded images, which is this one, and I'll click on add file. And now all of our fields are done and filled in with information, so I can scroll back up and click on update. And then we can navigate over to Elementor and start creating our single template. So I'll hover over Elementor and click on my templates. And you can see that here we already have the header and the footer created. I will not go over how to create those because on the channel there are plenty of tutorials about creating headers and footers. So instead I will just come here at the top and click on add new. Then here for the template type, I will select single. And for the post type, I will select post. I will also give this template a name so it's easier to find. Like this, and then I will click on create template. Now Elementor already opened for us the blocks library, but we don't want to use any blocks, so I will click close here at the top. And we are now on our page. So a few things before we actually start creating the page is I will go here in the hamburger icon and I will click color picker, and I've already set up a few colors here that I need for my design, which is like this blue, this dark blue, this gray color. All you have to do to select those is just click on one of the colors that is here, input your color, and then at the top click apply. So you will have them in the color picker. I've already done that, so I'm not gonna change them. Also, if I return here and click on default fonts, you can see that for the primary headline we have Montserrat, and also for the secondary headline. So I've already chosen some default fonts for this design. Now what I want to do is come here at the bottom, click on the settings wheel, and for the style of the page I will choose a background type of classic, and I will change the color to EF, which is this light gray color. And one last thing, I will click here on the eyeball icon, choose settings, and make sure that my preview is for this Dr. Alice, and I will click apply and preview. Okay, so I'll start by creating a new section here. I will click on the plus sign and I will choose a 3-column section. Then I'll go to the first column and I'll make it 15% in width. And for the second one, I will do 50%, meaning that the third one is 35% in width. Then inside of the first column, I'm going to drag in the featured image widget. So I'll return to the widgets panel and I'll drag in the featured image. I'll make sure that the image size is set to large and the alignment is set to left. Then I'll go over to the style tab, make the width of the image 100%, and then for the border radius here at the bottom, I will do a 500 border radius all around to make it a circle. Next, inside of the second column, I will add in a heading widget. So I'll return to the widgets panel and I'll drag in a heading widget here. And for the title, I will click here on the dynamic link, scroll all the way down and choose pods field. Then I'll click again here in the input, and for the key, I will choose the doctor's name. And you can see we have the doctor's name coming dynamically from our post. I will then move over to the style tab. I will change the color to our dark blue color here. And then for typography, I will make it 25 pixels in size, a weight of 500, and 0.8 letter spacing. Great, now under this I will add yet another heading, so I'll drag it inside. For the title, I'll once again do dynamic and choose pods field, but this time for the key I will select the doctor's job. I will then go over to the style tab, and for the text color I will do this gray color here. Then for typography I will make it 12 pixels in size, a weight of 400, and 0.9 line height. Then I will move over to the advanced tab, I'll link the margin values, and I will do -10 pixels margin to the top and 35 pixels margin to the bottom. Perfect. Now under this, I will add in an inner section. So I'll return to the widgets panel and I will drag in an inner section under this. I will go to the first column of this inner section and I will make it 70% in width, meaning that the second one is 30%. And then inside of it, I will drag in a button. We can also close the previous settings here at the bottom because we don't need them. Then for the text here, I will select dynamic. I'll scroll down to the pods field. And for the key, I will choose the doctor's phone number. I will also expand here the advanced options, and in the before input, I will write phone and a column and a space. That way we provide context for our text inside of the button. And this phone text will be rendered in front of any phone number that we have in the post. Alright, so I will close this up. I will make the button justified and I will change the size from small to medium. Then I'll go over to the style tab. I'll make sure that the text color is set to white and the background color is set to our green color, like so. Then I will select a solid border of 1 pixel, and for the color I will do again our green color. Perfect. Then I'll click here on the box shadow, scroll down to C, and for the color I will choose this gray color here, and I will reduce the opacity to 30%. If I come here to the RGBA, you can see the last value here is the opacity. So right now is 0.5, which means it's at 50%, as you can see from this slider as well. So I'll just do 0.3. And now it's reduced to 30%. Then I'll change here the horizontal to 2, the vertical to 2, and the blur to 20. And now we have a very nice subtle drop shadow for our button. Then I will select the column in which this button is placed. I go over to the advanced tab and I will unlink the margin and the padding values. And I will just make sure that our margin right is set to 10 pixels, like so. Now inside of the second column of this inner section, I'll drag in another button widget. So I'll return to the widgets panel and I'll drag in the button here. For the text, I will write here email. Now I'll click here on the dynamic link for our link input and I'll scroll all the way to the bottom where we can see we have the pod's URL field. So I'll click on that. And then for the key, I will choose the doctor's email. Then I'll once again make it justified and the size of medium. I'll go over to the style tab and for the text color, I will choose our blue color. And then for the background color, I'll just come here and reduce the opacity to 0 to make it transparent. Then I will close this up and I'll select a solid border, make it 1 pixel all around. And for it, I will choose our blue color here, but I will reduce the opacity down to 45%. So once again, we can use this value here to write 45. So we now have 0.45, meaning that it's 45% in opacity. Then I will close this up and I will select the box shadow. For the color, I'll do once again our blue color, but this time on only 25% opacity. And then I will do a horizontal of 2, a vertical of 2, and a blur of 10. Perfect. Now I'll select this column here, and under advanced, I'll make sure the margin and the paddings are set to 0 all around, and then just do a 10 pixel margin to the left. Then I will select the inner section here, and I'll make sure that the column gap is set to no gap. I will also go under advanced and unlink the padding values to make sure it is 0 all around. Now inside of our third column, I will drag in another inner section. So I'll return to the widgets panel and I'll drag in an inner section. I'll make the first column inside 35% in width, meaning the second one is 65%. And then inside of that, I will drag in a heading widget. For the title, I'll write specialty. Then I'll go over to the style tab. For the text color, I will choose this dark gray color we have here. And for typography, I will make it 12 pixels in size, a weight of 700, I'll transform it to uppercase and I will do 0.9 letter spacing, like this. I will then go over to the Advanced tab, unlink the margin values and do a margin bottom of -5 pixels. Then I will come here, right click on the handle and click duplicate to make a copy of this. Then all I will do is just change the title from specialty to education. Perfect. Then in the second column I will drag in another heading widget. So I'll turn to the widgets panel and I will drag it inside. This time for the title we will click on the dynamic link and choose pods fields here at the bottom. And for the key I will choose specialty. I will then go over to the style tab. I'll choose a light gray color, which is this one here. And for typography I will do 12 pixels in size, a weight of 400 and 0.9 letter spacing. Then I'll once again go over to the Advanced tab and I will unlink the margin values and I'll do -5 margin to the bottom. Great. Now I'll come here, I'll right click on the handle, do duplicate, and this time come here to the pods field and change the key from specialty to education. There we go. Now I'll select the inner section and I'll make sure that the column gap is set to no gap and the content position is set to middle. Under this I will drag in a divider, so I will return to the widgets panel and I will search for divider. And I will just drag it inside, just like this. Then I will change the color of this to our first blue color here, and then I'll decrease the opacity to 40%. Perfect. Then I'll make the width 30%. I will then go over to the Advanced tab and I will unlink the margin values and I will do 20 margin to the top and -10 margin to the bottom. Then under this I will add in an icon widget. I'll change the icon to the Facebook square icon. The view can stay on default, and here for the link I will click on the dynamic tag, scroll all the way to the bottom and choose pods URL field, and then for the key I will choose Facebook. Then I'll align it to the left, go over to the style tab, change the size to 20 to make it smaller, and then for the primary color I will make it our blue color. Perfect. Now we just need to add some margin and padding around, so I'll select the first column here, go over to the Advanced tab and I will unlink the padding values, and I will do 35 padding to the top and to the bottom, 10 padding to the right and 30 padding to the left, like this. Then for the second column I'll come here to the Advanced tab once again and then do 30 all around. Then I will unlink the values and change the right one to 90. Great. And of course our third column here, where we will have just 30 all around, like this. Then I will select the section, and now it's time to style this a little bit. So I'll change the content width to 1140 pixels. Then I will change the columns gap to no gap and the content position to middle. I'll now go under the style tab, and for the background type I'll do classic and I'll make the color white, like this. I will then click here on border and I'll make the border radius 3 pixels all around to round up the corners a little bit. And now we will add a box shadow, so I'll click here on the box shadow. For the color I will do black with 15% opacity, and we will have a horizontal of 2, a vertical of 2 and a blur of 5. Then under hover here I will change the settings to a horizontal of 2, a vertical of 6 and a blur of 10. Also make sure that the color is the same, black with 15% opacity, and that the transition duration is set to 0.3. Now we have this nice drop shadow for our section, and when we hover over it we have this depth effect. Alright, so we can continue with our second section. So I'll click the plus sign here and I'll choose a 1 column section. Then inside of here I will add in a new heading, so I'll go over to the widgets panel and I'll drag in a heading inside. For the title, I'll write more information. Then I'll navigate to the Style tab, and for the text color, I will do our dark blue color. And under typography, I will make it 15 pixels in size, a weight of 500. I'll transform it to uppercase, and then I'll give it 0.8 letter spacing. Then I'll go over to the Advanced tab. I will unlink the margin values, and I will give it -7 margin to the bottom. Now I will select once again the section. I'll change the content position from default to middle, and then I will go under Advanced. I will unlink the margin values once again, and I will do 50 margin to the top and 20 margin to the bottom. And now our second section is done, so we can continue on with our third and final section. So I will click once again the plus sign, and I will choose a 3-column section. Then I will select the first column, and I will choose a column width of 30%. Then for the second one, I will do 45%, meaning that the third one is 25% in width. Now inside of the first column, I want to drag in an inner section, so I'll go back to the widgets panel and I will drag it inside. For this inner section, we only want one column inside of it, so I'll right click on the second one and click delete. Then inside of here, I will drag in a new heading. And for the title, I will write contact. Then I'll go over to the Style tab, and I will make it our dark blue color. And for typography, I will make it 20 pixels in size, a weight of 500. I'll transform it to uppercase, and I will give it 0.8 letter spacing. Then I'll go over to the Advanced tab. I will unlink the margin values, and I will give it 40 pixels margin to the bottom, so we have a bit more space between the elements. Then under this, I will drag in an icon box widget. So I'll go over to the widgets panel and I will search for it. The first thing that I want to do is get rid of the description because we won't need that. So I'll just delete it. Now I will change the icon from star to WordPress. This one. I'll change the view from default to stack, and the shape can stay on circle. Then for the title, I'll write website. And here for the link, I will click on the dynamic link button. I'll scroll all the way to the bottom of the list and choose Pod's URL field. And for the key here, I will choose doctor's website. So this will now link to the doctor's website. I will also align this to the left, like this. And then I'll go over to the Style tab. For the primary color, I will choose our blue color, the lighter one. Then I'll give it a spacing of 10 and a size of 11 to make it much smaller. I will then expand the content here. I'll do the vertical alignment of middle and align left. Then for the title, I will do here 3 spacing, our dark blue color. And under typography, I will make it 14 pixels in size with a weight of 300 and 0.1 line height. Perfect. Then I'll go over to the Advanced tab, unlink the margin values, and I will do -10 pixel margin to the bottom. Now we need 3 more copies of this icon box, so I'll come here to the handle, right click and choose duplicate. And I will do that 3 times, so we have 4 in total. Then I will select the second one, and for the icon I will change it to send, which is this paper plane icon. For the title here, I will choose dynamic this time, scroll all the way down and choose Pod's field. And for the key, I will do doctor's address. Then I will also unlink this link to value here because we don't want this to link anywhere. Perfect. Now onto the third one. Here I will change the icon to envelope O, which is this one. The O stands for outline. Then for the title, once again, we will choose a Pod's field. And this time is going to be the doctor's email. And for the link here, I will do once again the doctor's email. So this shows the doctor email, but also links to the doctor's email. Great. And now the final one, I will select it. For the icon, I will do phone. For the title, once again, a pods field. And the key will be the doctor's phone number. And we want no link, just like so. Now it's time to style the inner section, but as you can see, these are outside of the inner section, so I'll just quickly drag them inside. Then I will select the inner section. I'll change the content position to middle. Then I'll go over to the style tab. For the background color, I will choose classic and I will choose white. Then I'll go over to the border, and for the border radius, I will do 3 pixels all around to round up the corners a little bit. Then I'll click here on the box shadow and on the color. And right now you can see we have 0.5. That's black on 50% opacity. And we want to change it to 15% opacity. So adjust here, I'll just write 0.15, and now our black is on 15% opacity. Then I will do a horizontal of 2, a vertical of 2, and a blur of 8. To have this nice soft shadow. Now I'll go over to the hover here, click once again on box shadow, make sure that is the same color, black on 15% opacity. And I will do a horizontal of 2, a vertical of 6, and a blur of 10. So now when we hover, we have this nice effect with the shadow. Also make sure that the transition duration is set to 0.3 seconds. Now I'll navigate over to the advanced tab. And I will unlink the margin and the padding values. For the margin, we want to have 40 pixels to the bottom to make a bit of space before the next element. And for the padding, we will have 40 pixels to the top and to the bottom. And 35 pixels to the left and to the right. Just like so. Great, now under this we want to add a divider, so I will just duplicate this one here. I will right click and do duplicate. And I will just drag it in under our inner section. Just like so. Now I will change the width to 100% to span all the column width. I will also change the gap from 15 to 5. And under the advanced tab, I will do 0 margin to the top, and to the bottom is going to be 30 pixels. Now we want to add here a heading under this divider, so I'll go back to the widgets panel and I will drag a heading inside. Then for the title, I will write related doctors. I'll go over to the style tab. I'll choose our dark blue color. Now for typography, I will do 15 pixels in size, a weight of 500. I will transform this to uppercase, and I will give it 0.8 letter spacing. Under this heading, we want to drag in a posts widget, so I'll return to the widgets panel and I will search for posts. And I will just drag it under. You can see that this already displays some information, but we want just to style it a little bit. So the first thing that I want to do is change the columns from 3 to 1. And the post per page from 6 to 2. Then I will change the image position from top to left. The image size can stay on medium. The image ratio should be 1. And the image width 25%. Great. Now here we do want to show the title and the excerpt. We do not want to show any metadata, so I'll get rid of the date and the comments. And for the read more button, we want it to be on, but we want to change the read more text from read more to view profile. Like this. Then I'll go over to the query and make sure the source is set to posts. Here for author categories and tags, we don't have to worry about anything. The ordered by should be by date descending if you want to show the latest doctors. And here it is very important for the exclude to exclude the current post, because we do not want to show the same doctor that we're already on. And also tick on avoid duplicate, so we don't have any duplicate doctors. Under pagination we want none, so we will just leave pagination none. I'll then go over to the style tab. I will align this to the left and I will change the rows gap to 25 to bring them a little bit closer together. Then under image here, I will do a 100 pixels border radius all around. That means that the image is going to be round. And now we will use CSS filters to achieve a really nice effect. So I'll just click here on CSS filters, and for the saturation slider I will drag it all the way to the left to 0. Now you can see that our image is black and white, and if I go to the hover, I just want to make sure that saturation is set to 100. What that will do is it will show a black and white image, but when we hover over it, it will bring back color into the image. So we have this really nice subtle effect. Then I will click on content. For the title under typography, I will make it 13 pixels in size and a weight of 300. Then for the excerpt, I will change it to 12 pixels in size and to a weight of 200. And for the read more button, I will change the color to our light blue color, this one here. And under typography, I'll make it a weight of 400. Great, so now this is done as well, and we can move on to the second column. The first thing that we want to drag inside here is a heading, so I'll return to the widgets panel and I'll drag in a heading inside of the second column. For the title, I will write about. Now I'll go over to the style tab, and for the text color, I will do our dark blue color. And under typography, I will make it 20 pixels in size, a weight of 500. I'll transform it to uppercase, and I will give it once again 0.8 letter spacing. Then I'll go over to the advanced tab, I'll link the margin values, and I will give it 40 pixels margin to the bottom. So you have a bit more space between the elements. Then under this, I want to drag in the post content widget, so I'll return to the widgets panel, and you can see we have here post content, and I will just drag it inside. This widget automatically brings back information that is inside of our post content. For the text color, I will change it to this lighter gray color. And under typography, I will just change the size to 13 pixels and the line height to 1.7. So we have a bit more breathing room between the lines. Great, now under this, we want another divider. So I'll just duplicate this one and drag it in. I will just change here the gap to 7, and under advanced I will leave 0 margin all around. Then I will drag in a video widget under this, so I'll search for video and I will drag it in. We can leave here the source to YouTube, but for the URL we'll click on the dynamic link here, scroll all the way down and choose pod's URL field. And for the key, we will choose doctor's video URL. And now you can see that the video was updated with our dynamic link. Here we can specify the start time and the end time for the video. So I can just do, for example, 43 seconds for the start and 150 seconds to the end. Then I will change here some settings. So we do not want this to autoplay, but we want it to be muted. We do not want loop. We do want player controls, video info, and modest branding, as well as suggested videos, but I will leave privacy mode to no. Then I'll click on the image overlay and I will turn it on. And here for the dynamic link, I will click, scroll all the way down and choose pod's image field. And for the key here, we have just one, which is the video overlay that we upload in the backend. And you can see that now we have this beautiful image as our overlay for the video. Then lazy load can stay to off. Image size full, we want to show the play icon and we do not want to show a light box. I will go over to the style tab and just make sure that the aspect ratio is set to 16:9. Great, so our second column is done as well. Let's just style it a little bit. So I will select the column and I will go over to the style tab. I will choose a background type of classic and I'll make the color white. Then I will go over to the border and I will do 3 pixels border radius all around to round the corners a little bit. Then I'll click on the box shadow and once again we will have the same settings. So I'll make the black 15% opacity. Then give it a horizontal of 2, a vertical of 2 and a blur of 8. And under hover, Once again, black on 15% opacity, but this time a horizontal of 2, a vertical of 6, and a blur of 10. And transition duration 0.3 seconds. Then I'll go over to the Advanced tab. I'll link the margin and the padding values. And for the margin, I will give it 35 pixels to the right to narrow it a little bit. And for the padding, we will do 40 pixels to the top and then 35 pixels on all the other sides. Perfect, so this is now done as well. And we can now move onto the third column. So the first thing that I want to do is just add in another intersection. So I'll go over to the Widgets panel and I will drag it inside. We only need one column, so I'll delete the second one from the intersection. Then I will drag in an icon widget, so I'll search for it. And I will drag it inside. I will change it from the star to the comments icon. Then under style, I will choose a primary color of our lighter blue color. And then I will decrease the opacity to 25%. So I'll just drag in the slider a little bit. And then here I will type 25. Like this. Then under this, I will drag in a heading widget. So I'll back to the widgets panel and I will drag it inside. I will write get started now. And I will align it to the center. Then I will go over to the style tab, and for the text color I will choose our lighter gray color. And under typography I'll make it 20 pixels in size. I'll give it a weight of 500. I'll transform it to uppercase and give it 0.8 letter spacing. Now under this I will drag in another heading widget. Like so. Then here for the title, I'll just paste in some lorem ipsum text, some dummy text, like this. Maybe it's a bit too much, so I'll delete the last part, just like so. I will align it to the center, then go over to the style tab, and for the text color, I will choose our light gray color, and then I will reduce the opacity to 70%, like this. Then under typography, I'll change the size to 13 pixels. I'll give it a weight of 300. And I will do 1.7 line height to have a bit more breathing room. Now under this, we want to drag in a button. So I'll return to the widgets panel and I will search for the button and drag it inside. Then for the text, I will write sign up. I will align it to the center and change the size to medium. Then for the icon, I will search for long arrow right, which is this one here. And I will change the position of the icon to be after the text. And I will give it 15 spacing, like so. Then I'll go over to the style tab. I'll make sure that the text color is white. And for the background color, I will do our blue color, like this. Then I'll select the box shadow. For the color here, I will choose our light gray color and then decrease the opacity to be 30%, like this. I will then give it a horizontal of 2, a vertical of 2, and a blur of 20. So now this is a very subtle shadow for this button. Great, now under this button we just want to drag in one more heading. So I'll return to the widgets panel and I'll drag in a heading under it. For the title, I'll write sign in. Then I will align it to the center. I'll go over to the style tab. And for the text color, I will do our light gray color. Then under typography, I'll make it 12 pixels in size. I'll give it a weight of 500. Transform it to uppercase. And then do 0.8 letter spacing. Then I'll go over to the advanced tab. I will unlink the margin values and I will give it -5 pixels top margin to bring it a little bit closer to our button. Now this is done as well, so we can just style the intersection itself. So I will click on it and I'll just change the content position to middle. Then I will go over to the style tab. I will choose a background type of classic and I'll make it white, like this. Then I will click on the border and I will choose a border type of solid. I will make it 1 pixel in width and I will change the color to our blue color. Then for the border radius, I will do 3 pixels all around to round up the corners once again. Then for the box shadow, once again the same settings, so it will be on black on 15% opacity with a horizontal of 2, a vertical of 2 and a blur of 8. And under hover, it will be the same black on 15% opacity with a horizontal of 2, a vertical of 6 and a blur of 10 and 0.3 seconds transition duration. Now I will go over to the advanced tab here, and for the margin I will do 50 pixels to the bottom, so we have a bit more space between this and the next element. And under padding we will do 40 pixels to the top and to the bottom, and 35 pixels to the right and to the left. Great. Now under this we want to drag in another inner section, so I'll just return to the widgets panel and I'll drag in an inner section here. Once again I will delete the second column because we only need one, and here I'll drag in a heading. I will write share in the title. Then I'll go over to the style tab, and for the text color I will do our dark blue color, and under typography I'll make it 15 pixels in size. I'll give it a weight of 500, transform it to uppercase, and then 0.8 letter spacing. Perfect. Then under this we want to drag in the share buttons widget, so I'll return to the widgets panel and I will search for share button and drag it inside. As you can see here on the left side, we now have 4 buttons: Facebook, Google+, Twitter and LinkedIn, but we want to change a few things here. So the first thing that we want to change is the Google+ one. We want to change it to email. And also we want to add our 5th item, so I'll just click on add item. And for the network, I will choose WhatsApp. So now I have 5 buttons: Facebook, email, Twitter, LinkedIn and WhatsApp. Now it's time to style these a little bit. So here for the view, I will change from icon and text to just the icon. Then the skin, I will change it to flat. The shape will be a circle and the alignment will be justified. Great. Then I will go over to the style tab and I will change the column gap to 0. I'll make the button size 1. Then here for the color, I will change from official color to custom color. And for the secondary color, I will choose our blue color. And for the primary color, I will just drag it to 0 opacity, so we only show the icon, not the background. Great, now I will go over to the advanced tab. I will unlink the margin values and I will give it -15 margin to the left. Perfect. Now this is done, we only have to style the inner section itself. So I will select it and I will change the content position to middle. Then I'll go over to the style tab. I will give it a classic background type with a color of white. And under border, I will choose 3 pixels all around for the border radius. Then I'll click on the box shadow and the same settings as before, black on 15% opacity with a horizontal of 2, a vertical of 2 and a blur of 8. And on hover, black on 15% opacity with a horizontal of 2, a vertical of 6 and a blur of 10 with 0.3 seconds transition duration. Perfect. Now I'll just go over to the advanced tab. I will unlink the margin and the padding values. For the margin, I will make sure that it's 0 to the top and to the bottom. And for the padding, I will do actually 20 pixels all around. Then I'll go over here to this text element and delete a little bit of it because it's too much. We don't want that much text. Okay, I will now go to our first column here. I'll go over to the advanced tab and I will unlink the margin and the padding values. Then I will give it 35 pixels margin to the right to make it a bit more narrow. After that, I will select this column inside of this inner section and I will go over to the advanced tab. Then I will unlink the padding value so it's 0 all around. Perfect. Now I will go over to the third column, Click on Advanced, and I will unlink the margin and the padding values to have 0 all around once again. Great, now I will select the section, click on Advanced, and I will unlink the margin values so we have 0 to the top and to the bottom. Perfect, so now our template is done. You can see we have a lot of information coming dynamically from our post. This beautiful video with an overlay image, the share buttons, the card here at the top with the phone number, the email, specialty and education, and everything in between. Great, so the last thing that we have to do is to publish this. So I will click here on publish at the bottom. And this is the display condition screen. And because at the beginning when we created the template, we have selected that we want to work with our post type. You can see that here we have include all posts all, which is exactly what we need. So all we have to do is just click on publish here. Okay, so our document is now live, so we can return to the dashboard. I'll click here on the hamburger icon and click exit to dashboard. And I will go now to view our website. And we can now see the list of doctors on our front page. So I will click on the first one, which is the one that we've worked on. And you can see the beautiful template that we just created. But right now, if I click, for example, on another doctor, like Dr. Ellie Gold here, to view his profile, you can see that we have the exact same design here. And also, for example, for Dr. Grace. So this was my Elementor and Pods tutorial about custom fields. I really hope you enjoyed it and that you learned something new out of it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comment box below. I'll try my best to answer them. Thanks for watching and see you all soon.